Hidden History is locally sponsored by the Upcountry History Museum, connecting people, history, and cultures, and by your Honda dealer of the Carolinas. Don't settle for anything less than a Honda.
Good evening and welcome to our broadcast. I'm Kimberly Brown. We here at 7 News, we're bringing you the hidden history behind Black History Month. Some of it you may not be familiar with, while other pieces you may already know. We feel it's important at Carolina's Family to share history with you. We are at the Upcountry History Museum, where there are several exhibits on history in the upstate, and that includes Black history. The goal of this broadcast is to show you more hidden history, some of it from right here at home and some of it from across the country. Let's begin in the upstate with a visit by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. nearly 50 years ago. Dr. King spoke in Greenville about a year before his death. He spoke on behalf of Black workers and the disparities they face. He spoke and gave voice to the voiceless. Aaron Rodgers sat down with a local businessman who helped with King's visit.
Dr. King came to Greenville in April of 1967 because of the treatment of Black workers at the Clausen Bakery.
They needed no hour. They didn't think you need no vacation. Okay, there you go. And it's just like you was just there.
Those, along with little pay or chance of promotion, were just some of the issues Black workers at the Clausen Bakery faced.
So much mistreatment.
But because of it, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. made a visit to Greenville.
He was defending and fighting for and trying to get people to do more for themselves and to demand more.
Mr. Fred Garrett, who's 93 and owns Watkins, Garrett & Woods Mortuary, one of the oldest Black-owned businesses in the city, remembers the visit well. He was asked to help by his friend, A.J. Wittenberg.
I had a car in the business here, so we would ride around, carry him around, we thought that was an honor to do that.
They drove Dr. King to his speech at Greenville Memorial Auditorium.
He was telling them that they could achieve things that they wanted to achieve, that they get together and they'll get organized and work together.
King even went to eat at Reverend Jesse Jackson's grandmother's home. Mr. Garrett says King's visit helped improve the conditions at the bakery.
Take what you want and make what you want out of it. That was his philosophy.
And got more people involved in the movement.
We were trying to build a future in this community.
The Greenville NAACP put up this marker a year ago to commemorate the 50-year anniversary since Dr. King was in Greenville. In Greenville, Aaron Rodgers, 7 News.
The Reverend King's legacy is etched into American history. Those who knew him best and walked with him on the journey of justice and equality shared their stories along with his story. Tirsa Smith shares the story of Harold Middlebrook. He was a friend of Dr. King.
I'm convinced that God has a plan for your life.
At age 75, the Reverend Dr. Harold Middlebrook's passion for civil rights still burns strong. As a young man, the civil rights movement was coming to a boil.
So when Martin King started in 54, and 55 and 56 with the Montgomery, we kept up with it every day in my household.
Reverend Middlebrook would go on to college at a prestigious school in Atlanta where his life would take a turn.
I graduated and went on to Morehouse. Did a summer program as a Woodrow Wilson student. Got involved with Lonnie King, Herschel Sullivan, Julian Bond, and all of that crowd in Atlanta for the Committee on Appeal for Human Rights.
His friendship with Dr. King would land him in tense situations with local police.
They went out to the car and got a rubber hose and came back to proceed to whip me with the rubber hose. Now here's the difference. The tire iron can leave bruises and scars visible. The rubber hose leaves you wounded on the inside.
There, on the day that Dr. King was assassinated, Reverend Middlebrook reminds us all that the movement was bigger than one man.
The dream was not just Martin's dream. It was the dream of thousands of people who had suffered through segregation, humiliation, degradation.
He's slowed down a bit, but is still pressing for change.
Closer to home is an old slave cabin used to teach Carolina's family about the past and plantation life. This cabin was saved from destruction, moved and rebuilt using 50% of its original material. It was originally located on Grove Road near Greenville Memorial. Now it's at the Roper Mountain Science Center. It's believed to have been built as a slave cabin in the 1840s. Archaeologists found newspapers from the early 1900s and pieces of dishes and even dolls underneath the cabin. The cabin is now a tool for students and adults alike to have a hands-on experience of the past. Next on 7 News Hidden History, a look at the barber who used to cut President Lincoln's hair. He remained a friend through thick and thin.
An exciting development today. Every game is tied up at all nines across the board. All nines? Is this a George Sink commercial?
It is. Heard on the highway or heard at work? Don't get tied up waiting for your check. Call all nines.
7 News honors Black history with a special presentation of our nation's hidden history. From civil rights pioneers and demonstrators to military service, equality, and school desegregation. It's a look back at events that helped shape our country. Watch our nation's hidden history Saturday, February 10th at 7:30 p.m. on WSPA 7 News. Hidden History is locally sponsored by the Upcountry History Museum, connecting people, history, and cultures, and by your Honda dealer of the Carolinas. Don't settle for anything less than a Honda.
Hi, Jessica. How's the new Accord?
Amazing. So I saw you were having an event and brought in my best friend to get a great deal, too.
Well, now's the best time to get fantastic deals on the 2017 Honda Accord. Named one of Car and Driver's 10 best 31 times.
It looks great and gets great mileage.
Plus, a rear-view camera comes standard.
Wow. I know.
So you're getting the Accord.
We know.
Great. I'll get the keys.
Find the perfect Accord for you at the Honda Perfect Accord sales event, happening right now at your local Honda dealer.
There's a story behind that welcome sign, that country back road, the diner that's been open for decades, the high school you and your parents graduated from, and that metal artwork planted on the corner of Main Street. When faith and tradition are more powerful than the town train, it's the stories that make a place home. Because life inside these city limits is worth sharing. Hometown Spotlight, Fridays on 7 News Daybreak. Part of Carolina's family.
Okay, I've got 9 seconds. I need the code.
It's 999-9999.
All nines? Is this a George Sink commercial?
It is. Heard on the highway or heard on the job? We got the code. Call all nines now.
Before Abraham Lincoln was considered one of America's greatest presidents, he was a lawyer who walked the streets of Springfield, Illinois. One of Lincoln's friends was William Flourville. Flourville was a black man from Haiti. He was more than a friend, he was Lincoln's barber. Flourville's family lives just a few miles away from where both men are buried. Mark Maxwell has the story of Lincoln's barber.
In the early part of the 1900s, someone said that only 2 people knew Lincoln best: William Herndon, his law partner, and William Flourville, his barber.
They met in New Salem in the 1830s and formed an unlikely bond: a black immigrant from Haiti and a lanky lawyer from Kentucky.
Flourville moved around, Lincoln moved around, but they always knew one another by face, by name, by business, by friendship.
Both embarking on a new life, both setting up shop in Springfield.
Probably saw him every week, either on the street here or going into Flourville's barber shop, which was about a half a block away from the Lincoln Herndon Law Office.
They swapped jokes, traded books, and both got married by the same reverend. Lincoln's wife grew up owning slaves. Flourville's wife was one.
Phoebe Roundtree Flourville, she had once been enslaved, his wife. So and I'm not sure how she escaped from that enslavement, but she could have been taken or re-enslaved if she had been a runaway slave.
National politics, a civil war, even 800 miles couldn't separate 2 old friends.
William Flourville is one of the few people in Springfield who wrote Lincoln a letter while he was president, just to say hi as an old friend.
1 month after Lincoln's Gettysburg Address, Flourville wrote the president, "The shackles have fallen, and bondmen have become free men. But the struggles of the Flourville family were far from over.
It is truly a tragedy.
His grandson, George Richardson, was the man that Maybelle Hallam, the woman that said she was raped and attacked by an African-American man. He was William Flourville's grandson.
He did tell stories, you know, about the riots.
Norm Willis grew up hearing his grandfather's stories about the 1908 race riots that led to the start of the NAACP.
It was probably really scary times, and he survived it thanks to some friends of his, and just amazing to hear something like that happen right here in Springfield.
Norm's mom, Irene, still lives in the same house in Springfield, a direct descendant of William Flourville.
We were the only colored family besides an old couple that lived across the street.
She recalls what life was like for a young married couple in the 1950s.
Well, it wasn't too very good until we finally got to talking to people, and I'd tell them where I lived, and you mean you live? But then, and they said, well, you don't look like you should live there.
Her great-grandchildren still live in Springfield, a city just as much theirs as it was President Lincoln's.
I've had a wonderful life, and I learned how to treat people.
Abraham Lincoln once said, I am a success because I had a friend who believed in me and I didn't have the heart to let him down. Now, we don't know exactly who he was talking about, but we do know that William Flourville was Lincoln's friend. Next, on 7 News Hidden History, a look at the story behind a church arson that happened right here in the Carolinas.
7 News honors Black history with a special presentation of our nation's hidden history. From civil rights pioneers and demonstrators to military service, equality, and school desegregation. It's a look back at events that helped shape our country. Watch our nation's hidden history Saturday, February 10th at 7:30 p.m. on WSPA 7 News. Hidden History is locally sponsored by the Upcountry History Museum, connecting people, history, and cultures, and by your Honda dealer of the Carolinas. Don't settle for anything less than a Honda.
And here you have a banh mi-inspired fried chicken sandwich. You'd never find this at a fast food restaurant. It's a good thing.
Is that right, Martha? Why don't you try my Asian fried chicken sandwich? Made with crispy fried chicken strips, crunchy Asian slaw, and a gochujang mayo, all on a toasted baguette.
Security, get him!
What, you afraid of a little competition?
You want to go to war with me, Jack? Do you really?
Oh my gosh, what? I can't smell. I can't smell. Introducing my food truck-inspired sandwiches, only at Jack in the Box.
7 News makes a genuine effort to prepare and inform Carolina's family every day through reporting local news that's personal.
Folks got the chance to spend some time with their first responders today. This was a Simpsonville United Night Out.
Just an opportunity for the community to come together with our law enforcement and public safety, along with some of our supporters from the business community, to have an event where the police can interact with the community.
It's our privilege to serve Carolina's family.
I'm South Carolina Attorney General Alan Wilson. Nowadays, we all have to worry about cybersecurity. Hackers are always looking for new ways to break into our computers. Something as simple as visiting pirate websites can put your computer at risk. Hackers use pirate websites to infect your computer and steal your ID and financial information. Or even take over your computer's camera without you knowing it. You wouldn't let hackers into your house, so don't let them into your computer. Be careful with the websites you visit. To learn more, visit my website.
Welcome back to our 7 News presentation of Hidden History in honor of the stories you haven't heard during Black History Month. Now we'll take a look at a church in eastern North Carolina, built just after the Civil War, burnt by arsonists during the Civil Rights Movement. Dominique Moody with a closer look at how this church is helping a community stand tall again.
One of the oldest African-American churches in Greenville, North Carolina, didn't always stand on Hooker Road. In fact, the Black Staple, along with its members, remember a time when what's now known as Uptown Greenville was just downtown and served as a thriving pillar for the African-American community.
This is one of the few images that remain to shed light on the history of Sycamore Hill Baptist Church.
The thing about what made Sycamore Hill was special was about the preaching and the choir.
The early morning hymns and preaching had an impact on Alton Ray Harris's life. who grew up in the Shore Drive community and witnessed the area's effect on black lives.
People don't know that downtown was very industrial.
Sycamore Hill Missionary Baptist Church was founded in 1867, but it wasn't until 1917 that the church opened its doors at the corner of 1st and Green Street. And as the church continued to grow, so did the problems.
When the urban renewal came, they made an offer, and we didn't accept it. The older people didn't accept it.
For Greenville native and Sycamore member Freddie Outerbridge, it's a deep wound that's hard to heal.
This church meant so much to the community.
But the fight to maintain the church's legacy continued over the years. In 2016, the city created a historical marker in remembrance of the church, which is another piece to the remaining puzzle.
What we have seen and what architecture has shown us, it will be beautiful.
Greenville City Council approved a $2 million project to commemorate the church. The Sycamore Hill Gateway Plaza is set to be the missing piece to the town common. For Hidden History, I'm Dominique Moody.
Next, the story of Amistad has been memorialized on the silver screen, but the hidden history behind what happened is still unknown to many Americans. Coming up, we'll take a closer look at what happened and how it's remembered today.
Hi, Jessica. How's the new Accord?
Amazing. So I saw you were having an event and brought in my best friend to get a great deal too.
Well, now's the best time to get fantastic deals on the 2017 Honda Accord. Named one of Car and Driver's 10 best 31 times.
It looks great and gets great mileage.
Plus, a rear view camera comes standard.
Wow, I know.
So you're getting the Accord.
We know.
Great, I'll get the keys.
Find the perfect Accord for you at the Honda Perfect Accord sales event happening right now at your local Honda dealer.
The man you work for killed 6 American soldiers.
You're too emotionally involved to make good decisions.
We have to see this through.
I'm ending this!
We're taking care of your young buck right now.
For the Brotherhood.
The Brotherhood. SEAL Team returns February 28th.
It could be the first thing you saw this morning. Or the second thing. Maybe it jumped out at you. Or followed you home. There are plenty of ways to choose your lucky pick 3 and pick 4 numbers. With drawings every day of the week, why not play more than one? The South Carolina Education Lottery. Your lucky number is out there, somewhere. Play it.
The story of Amistad is one of the most captivating stories in our nation's history. The slave rebellion and court battle resulted in one of the earliest victories for social justice and equality. Scott McDonald with the story aboard the Amistad.
The Amistad was never meant to be a slave ship, but in 1839 off the coast of Cuba, that's what it became. Like many slave ships, inhumane conditions. It wasn't long before the captives revolted. Led by Sengbe P.A., they took back the ship.
He's your average everyday farmer from Mende Land. He's one of these ordinary people that's put in an extraordinary circumstance, and he rises to the occasion. He becomes the hero of the story.
Today, Connecticut's Mystic Seaport, a replica of the Amistad sails again, part of the Discovering Amistad initiative. It sits in a harbor not far from New London, where it eventually ended up over 175 years ago. The Africans found themselves in a legal battle, even defended by former President John Quincy Adams. The highly publicized case made its way all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court.
But ultimately they decided they're from Africa, and as free men who had been kidnapped, they had every right to defend themselves and free themselves. And so the Supreme Court ultimately decided that they should be set free.
The court victory did not end slavery. Far from it.
The Amistad case actually didn't have that big of an impact on Supreme Court law, on precedent, but it was a symbolic case.
But it did provide hope.
To tell us that progress is possible, that we can keep moving forward.
Hope that's revisited every time the ship sets sail and the story of Amistad is told. Reporting in Mystic Seaport, Scott McDonald.
Still ahead on this Hidden History presentation, we take a look at an American patriot who fought in World War II, Korea, and Vietnam. He says discrimination doesn't matter when it comes to serving his country.
7 News honors Black history with a special presentation of our nation's hidden history. From civil rights pioneers and demonstrators to military service, equality, and school desegregation. It's a look back at events that helped shape our country. Watch our nation's hidden history Saturday, February 10th at 7:30 p.m. on WSPA 7 News. Hidden History is locally sponsored by the Upcountry History Museum, connecting people, history, and cultures, and by your Honda dealer of the Carolinas. Don't settle for anything less than a Honda.
Hi, Jessica. How's the new Accord?
Amazing. So I saw you were having an event and brought in my best friend to get a great deal too.
Well, now's the best time to get fantastic deals on the 2017 Honda Accord. Named one of Car and Driver's 10 best 31 times.
It looks great and gets great mileage.
Plus, a rear view camera comes standard.
Wow. I know.
So you're getting the Accord.
We know.
Great. I'll get the keys.
Find the perfect Accord for you at the Honda Perfect Accord sales event, happening right now at your local Honda dealer.
Roses are red, violets are blue.
I love George Sink Injury Lawyers, and they love me too.
Yes, we do. This Valentine's Day at George Sink Injury Lawyers, we send our love and appreciation to all our clients, past, present, and future.
George Sink was there for me. They really cared about me.
Helping people is all they do.
George Sink's always there for you.
Valentine's Day or any day, we're always here to help. Just call all nines.
Get George Sink Law Firm on the line. Call 999-9999.
To enter the secret world of speakeasies, all you need to know is
the password.
Spirited. Spirited. Prohibition in America is on exhibit January 27th through March 6th at the Upcountry History Museum. See how the 18th Amendment ushered in the cultural revolution of the Roaring Twenties, including mixed-gendered speakeasies and the growth of organized crime. Spirited. Prohibition in America at the Upcountry History Museum, Furman University.
We honored veterans here at Carolina's Family, including an African-American soldier who served in 3 major wars. Amy Simpson tells us the story of a hero who rose above discrimination and through the ranks.
Colonel Porcher Taylor Jr. is a remarkable and decorated war hero, calling Petersburg home for the past 40 years.
I have a patriotic spot in my heart for this country of ours.
But he says decades in the military didn't come without its challenges.
This country, in the beginning, was not very nice to me or anybody who looked like me.
Taylor's service spanned 3 wars, World War II, Korea, and Vietnam, worn like badges of honor on his hat. He says he only feared death one time, when he was put behind a machine gun in Guam that he hadn't been trained on.
That's a dangerous weapon. You can kill a whole lot of people.
He says he wasn't trained on this heavy artillery because he was a black man. Serving before and during the Civil Rights Movement, Taylor says he worked to empower and promote African Americans in the military.
When I first came in as an enlisted man, and then later as an officer, the big difference was, I suppose, as an officer, I could do something about it because I was in charge.
Taylor left the military after 3 decades, going on to have a successful career in academia. He was one of the first black men to earn a PhD from University of South Carolina, served as vice president at VSU, founded the Petersburg chapter of the Tuskegee Airmen, even wrote a book. Despite the accolades and legacy apparent to his family and community, he remains humble and kind.
I'm 92 and I don't have too much time left. I'm not stupid enough not to believe that.
In Petersburg, Amy Simpson.
The Virginia Press Association named Colonel Taylor Virginian of the Year in 2014. We here at 7 News and Carolina's Family would like to thank him for his service. Dr. Benjamin E. Mays influenced a lot of the minds connected to the civil rights movement, including Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. He was born in 1894 in Greenwood County. Aaron Rodgers takes a look at the legacy he left behind.
Dr. Benjamin E. Mays' parents were slaves on this land before they were able to live in a home where this marker now stands, which was the birthplace of one of the greatest minds of the civil rights movement.
He was born at a time where whites were going about the business of reestablishing white rule in the South.
Some of the earliest memories of Dr. Benjamin E. Mays weren't pleasant.
Dr. Mays, on the porch of this home that we have here on our site, was terrorized as a 4-year-old by men who rode up on horseback,
threatening his family at gunpoint during the Phoenix riots in Greenwood County.
And over that week, 9 African Americans in that community were lynched and killed. And so these were Dr. Mays. This was the world that he was formed into.
But it was a world that formed who he became.
He didn't believe God had made him inferior. And so Dr. Mays was driven by this desire to go and prove his worth.
Dr. Mays, who came from these humble beginnings, picking cotton in this field, went on to get his master's and PhD from the University of Chicago.
It's just a tremendous story of someone that had a tremendous amount of tenacity about this desire to get an education and to be someone in life.
He became the president of Morehouse College in Atlanta, a title he held for nearly 30 years, and where he became the mentor to Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
Him seeing Dr. Mays and finding sort of this intellectual, spiritual leader that made King think that he could do the things that he wanted to do in the ministry.
An impact he had on many young people throughout the civil rights movement.
And they just went on to make a lasting legacy and really change the course of American history.
People who worked with him say they were drawn to him.
He was always very stately, relaxed, and wise. He was from a different era.
But he never forgot where he came from.
He felt like in some way that he represented the aspirations of the people of the Phoenix community in the Epworth area.
And it's why he now commands the only life-size statue of a historical figure in Greenwood County.
He represents the best in us and the best that we can strive to be.
Dr. Benjamin E. Mays delivered the eulogy at Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s funeral. He also served as an advisor to Presidents Kennedy, Johnson, and Carter. We have so much more of our nation's hidden history available for you at WSBA.com. We hope that our look at America's hidden history has been insightful. We here at 7 News wanted to share the contributions that African Americans have made right here in the upstate and across the country. We also want to thank Upcountry History Museum for allowing us to use their beautiful facility. I'm Kimberly Brown. Thank you for watching.
Hidden History is locally sponsored by the Upcountry History Museum, connecting people, history, and cultures, and by your Honda dealer of the Carolinas. Don't settle for anything less than a Honda.